Game of Thrones is bad. It's the worst TV show, worst book ever made. Now, there was a time, a few years ago, and might even still be a little bit today, that statement would bring the ire of a large group of people that just absolutely love Game of Thrones and everything about it. They'll come at me and they might say, well, you don't know what great literary work is. You don't know what great TV is. They might ask me why I don't like it or why I think it's bad. We could have the discussion all day long about the reasons why. But the thing is it's not really objectively bad. But I don't like it. And that's something that I want to touch on in this video today and talk a little bit about it. This video is kind of inspired a little bit by an author friend of mine, Brandon Carter, he has his own YouTube channel. He's been getting up, and you should go check out the video. I'll link the video in the description below, or the comments, one of the two or both maybe. But he did a video called In Defense of Twilight, where he was talking about he was kind of defending Twilight as a whole from the haters that have grown up over the years, and giving reasons why Twilight isn't as bad as people say it is, and he kind of at the very end started touching on objective versus subjective, and opinions and how all those kind of flow. So I wanted to kind of dig a little bit more into that, because that's kind of my realm of things. I love talking about it's almost a philosophy in a way. The question becomes, what makes something good or bad? So when we look at things, you might have a TV show, a movie, a book, a song that you really love. And when somebody comes along and they say, well, I don't like that, I think it's bad. And typically they won't start with, I don't like it. They'll just start with, oh, that's an awful movie. That's an awful song. That's a terrible TV show. And as a fan of that, you kind of take it personally. Because in fandom, we tend to connect ourselves to the properties that we love. And we attach our personalities to those things. So when those things come under attack, well, we have to defend them. We have to come up with a reason why it's not what the person says it is. So if they say, Game of Thrones is a bad television show or a bad book series, well, people are going to come out of the woodwork and they're going to say, no, it's not, and this is all the reasons why. And for that person, that's true. But that kind of gets on the other side of things, where we kind of need to think about how we say things. We need to think about how we talk about things when we talk about is something good or bad, and realize that there is no objective standard for art. So television shows, books, movies, you have to measure quality against something, because typically that's what we're talking about is quality. And you have to measure that quality against something. So what exactly are you measuring it against? And typically, for most people, they will be measuring it against something that they do enjoy, that they love greatly. And they'll look at the two things and they'll say, well, I like this thing for all of these reasons, and this doesn't have all of those things, so I don't like that thing. And I think we tend to kind of fall into that trap with our own things, and we think that we kind of conflate in our minds subjectivity with objectivity. I like this show, and that's a subjective opinion. But in my brain, it becomes an objective opinion, and so it becomes it becomes the measuring stick. It becomes everything holds up to this thing. It's the reason why, for a lot of people who read books, when a movie is made of the books, the Harry Potter series is the perfect example. I'll use it because I absolutely love the Harry Potter series. But the people who had read the books before the movies came out, a large chunk of them were disappointed by the movies because things were left out that were scenes in the books or characters in the books that were left out of the movies for one reason or another. And so you had a lot of people that read the books that said, well, the movies are terrible, because their measuring stick was the books. But then you had a lot of people that watched the movies first, that loved the movies and thought they were amazing. And then you start the argument back and forth, and then that's where you get the argument of the book was better than the movie. And it kind of depends on how you look at it. So for me, and I'll continue on using Harry Potter, I like both the books and the movies for their own reasons. I don't necessarily think that one is worse than the other. Now, if I look at it from a literary sense and I look at things that whether they make sense within the context of the story, things that maybe in the movie seem like a plot hole that was only a plot hole because it was made up for in the book that they just didn't add to the movie. Yes, from that angle, you can look at it and you can dissect it and you can tear it apart and you can say, well, from a literary perspective, if you're using literary sense, if you're using looking at the narrative and the story overall, you can dissect it against itself. But I don't think it's fair to compare the books and the movies and to say one is better than the other just because I like one more or dislike one more. And that's the same thing for anything. If you like something and somebody else doesn't like something, that doesn't make what you like good and what they don't like or what they hate bad. All it means is that you like something and they don't. And that's true in most every aspect of human society as a whole. And it kind of goes to in-groups and out-groups, too. Because if I like something, I find a group of people that like it, we all like it, and now we live in a bubble. And anything that challenges that bubble, for any reason whatsoever, is now bad. And it kind of gets to the point where if you're outside of the bubble, you might feel like the outcast, and now you feel like you have to point out why it's bad. You have to point out, I don't like this thing, therefore it's bad, and I'm going to find all the reasons why so that I can prove these people wrong because they're part of a different group. It's kind of silly, The best thing that we can do as individuals is look at things and realize that we're looking at them from a subjective point of view. And it kind of touches on, I could even get into like subjective versus objective morality and that kind of thing. If that's a video you'd like to see, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to talk about something like that. We're not going to go that far, but I will specify that objective is typically seen as something that is true regardless of the circumstances. So something that would be objective if, kind of a gruesome thought, but if I were to jump off of a tall building in New York and splat on the street below, I would die. That is an objective truth. But Game of Thrones is a horrible movie, or a horrible series, is a subjective opinion. And what I should do is reframe it and say, I didn't like Game of Thrones. It wasn't for me. There's a lot of things that have been popular, and I don't dislike them because they're popular. I like things that are popular too. But things that have been super, I got a lot of flack in the past for hating on Breaking Bad. I tried watching it. I tried watching Game of Thrones. They just weren't for me. I didn't like them. That doesn't make them objectively bad, and that doesn't make you bad for liking them, and that doesn't mean that you're wrong for liking them. At the end of the day, we have to stop taking it personally. We have to stop taking these attacks on, if somebody calls out something that you like and they say why it's bad or why they think it's bad, we got to stop taking that personally. And it goes down, I've even got there's video essays all over Facebook or YouTube for things like Skyrim. And I've been watching a lot of gaming content lately. I'm sorry. But Skyrim and Minecraft are two big games that I love, that are some of the best-selling games of all time, that because they're so popular, there's a lot of video essays you can find on both sides, people that hate and love both things, and giving their reasons why. But they'll say Skyrim is good or Skyrim is bad. Minecraft is good. Minecraft is bad for these reasons. When in reality, what they're saying is, I just don't like this particular thing. And I can use the example of like the combat system in Skyrim. That's one of the big contention points for a lot of people. They'll say, well, the combat system is bad. It's objectively bad. That's not true. Because I like the combat system. It's not objectively bad. Compared to another game that you like, it might not be as good as, or it might not be preferable for you. But that doesn't make it bad. The same thing with Minecraft. There's no real end game for Minecraft aside from like beating the dragon, and you kind of do whatever you want to do. And there's people that say because of that, because there's no real story to it, it's bad. Well, no, you're comparing apples to oranges, and just because it's not something that you prefer, because it doesn't have the things that you want in it, that doesn't make it bad. And just because you love it doesn't make it good. It just means you enjoy it or you don't enjoy it. And I think if we can change how we say things and be a little bit more thoughtful, whether it is opinions on movies, TV shows, video games, music, or even things like politics, which I've talked recently about on my channel, if we can change the way that we speak about these things to say, I dislike this thing. I don't prefer this. I prefer this other thing. That can help move the conversation forward, because then we're having discussions about why we like or dislike things, as opposed to trying to demonize the people who like something or dislike something that we like or dislike. I think that's something that we should really focus on doing, and for a million reasons, but honestly, it's just that it really helps to kind of tone things down and have conversations, communicate better. That's what it really boils down to, is just better communication. So that's all I got for this one. It's not an overly long one, but like I said at the beginning, go check out Circle of Origin Author's YouTube channel. He's an awesome guy. We've had some discussions. We've got some things in the works coming up, so stay tuned for that. I'm not going to really talk too much about that right now. But go check out his YouTube channel, and he does some of the similar things that I do, kind of like random ramblings and just a little bit of fun, and he's trying some new things out. If it's something that you enjoy, subscribe to him, leave some comments on his channel, and say hi. Tell him that I sent you over there. But that's all I got for now. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.